Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's another episode of Age of Nations. I'm Daniel Quick, also known as DanQ, creator and producer of the series, and with me is...
Joe Snoopy369 Matise, and I voice Lookout and Intrepid, and I occasionally help edit.
Yes, and I also voice Marshmallow, otherwise known as Marsh. He doesn't like to be called Marshmallow. You guys remember that.
Got it. No s'mores.
He gets very upset. Episode 102, co-written by myself and Dark Cloud, also an executive producer, along with Gordon Illuminata Smith, who wrote the storyline with me right there, and there's Stan Steckar-Kempinski, who directed this episode. And so here we start, opening scene of the barracks of the Greek capital.
I love these opening scenes where it's just music and you're just sort of watching the entire capital. You're sort of watching people move back and forth.
And so VIRTU, Trigger, and Marsh are going to have a little powwow here. And it's here that we start, VIRTU kind of starts down his philosophical path. And there's one of Stan's friends or neighbors, I forget right now. And there's another one doing our close-ups. As I mentioned in the first commentary, can't do close-ups within Rise of Nations on the characters' faces, so we've got a live-action blend here.
And Valor is a great virtue.
God, I love how the character, particularly the character you have for Trigger, is just very much appropriate in my opinion for who Trigger is. Like the close-up for him.
Yeah, it was Stan sent me 3 pictures of 3 of his friends and said, "Okay, Trigger, Marsh, and VIRTU, you decide who is who." And there's Marshmallow right there. They just seem to kind of fit each character.
Marsh looks like he's gonna come tackle somebody. Maybe that's just his voice, but he looks like he's like a football player or something.
Exactly. And so yeah, this is just a nice opening scene here. We tried to get some of movement of people on the screen, even if it really doesn't call for it, because there is a lot of dialogue, and because of that, as I said, we mix in the live action stuff. I love that right there that Stan shows. He shows that right there when I think either VIRTU or Trigger is talking, just to get kind of his facial expression, like, oh man, are they going on and on again? Just a nice touch in there. And I actually have no idea what these actors are actually saying. I don't believe they are saying the actual lines. And don't know their names, and I don't think they know whose character they're going to be. Stan just says, "You, in the shot, now, do this!" You know, he just takes control.
Does he actually ever tell them, show them afterwards what the episodes were?
I asked him about that for the first episode, and he said he wasn't going to tell people what this was about because he was afraid he wouldn't have any friends anymore, so or his neighbors wouldn't talk to him. He is running out of friends and neighbors, he tells me, so people send him a video clip of yourself if you'd like to be live action there.
Otherwise he'll end up having to reuse the old reuse the old pictures.
Exactly. We'll dye some people's hair, you know, whatever, maybe change the color of the bath towel there.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea with the background there, I mean, it's a little different than it was in the first episode. Hopefully we're going to be able to work to try to get some other background effects, kind of a green screen effort here. And I remember this is Joe's favorite scene right here that's starting right now, and why might that be?
Have lines in.
Yeah,
the scene where I get introduced essentially.
Yeah, I mean, you in terms of you're voicing the characters, because as everybody knows or should know, I did the voices of these characters in the pilot episode, and the Lookout was particularly hard on the air. Great improvement, thank you, Joe.
The first couple I had a hard time with for some reason. Once I got through You Betcha, then my Lookout completely changed. The first 3 lines were sort of, I don't know, I sort of had a hard time getting around it, even though I'd already done a couple, you know, for the audition or whatever.
Right,
but,
so you're essentially talking to yourself here.
Yeah, that's interesting. As it gets further along and we do more of the episodes, it's, you know, we start actually mixing other characters in with Lookout and Intrepid. It starts being a little more, this was really easy, actually, to mix when I did it. I put the lines together because it was just like me. Look out, Intrepid! Look out, Intrepid! It gets more complicated as I have to start leaving remembering there's gonna be someone else voicing a line in the middle.
Exactly. So have Intrepid and Lookout, have they named their companions that are with them? We don't really talk about them. They're kind of seen but not heard.
Yeah, Lookout, I think he does have a name for us. I haven't quite figured out what that is yet. Intrepid, that's not really his sort of style. He's more, I sort of see Intrepid as more of this sort of like, young nobleman or something, where he's sort of like, he views himself as like, very, very logical and very, he's just doing a job and whatnot. Whereas Lookout, I view as much more emotional and much more attached to things, especially when he gets into talking about his family and how his wife and kids are going to need more room, and they're actually going to have a backyard and stuff like that.
Yeah, because Lookout, really, he's the only character that we ever talk about family so far. And I know some people might think, you guys make a lot of jokes at Lookout expense. Well, Lookout kind of likes it, I think.
Yeah, I think Lookout, I see Lookout as more of like the human character here, whereas Intrepid is sort of more of a, he doesn't really have the range of emotions that Lookout does. He thinks he's the smart one and the one with all the sense and all that, but Lookout really turns out to be the one who actually sort of understands more of what's going on, I think, than Intrepid actually does.
And in that scene just past, my favorite line is Lookout when he says, "I think it's those damn teenagers. They got nothing to do except cause trouble." That's just kind of a nod to our audience. We know we were all troublemakers. That's what the public thinks, so that's what the public gets.
Yeah.
So now we're back at the council, talking to the councilman, and we also introduce some new voice actors for Odysseus, Ixnay, Kyle Stradler helping us out there, as I got tired of doing everybody's voices. I'm also Achilles here, although I don't know if he speaks.
Are there any resources?
Nah, a little later. And
he speaks right there.
Oh, there you go. And oh, sure, point out the obvious there. Thanks a lot. Make me look like a complete.
I love Odysseus' voice. Actually, Ixnay does such a great job with that. I think that he's he's probably my favorite character of the council members.
And Stan himself is voicing Heracles right there. Of course, he would choose the councilman. That's the most powerful to voice. I think there's a subtle something in there. I better watch out.
Yeah, just don't show him like later episode scripts.
And if I'm not mistaken, Stan mentioned that his wife here, or at least somebody close to his family, is voicing Jason. And that's actually in Stan's yard. That's a Roman guard. Yeah.
He's got the statue, really? Wow.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty nice. And oh yeah, there's just a citizen walking by just off the screen there. Even though it's a really important meeting, she doesn't seem to stop to try to listen in. I guess it's not that interesting. I don't know. Maybe she knows something that we don't.
She's trying to like listen in without actually looking like she's listening.
She's got better things to do than to listen to politicians.
Maybe.
Generations ahead of her time. Uh-oh. I didn't say that.
This assignment had better involve our taking out.
And so yes, here we're finding out whether or not Intrepid and Lookout are really worth the effort, and the big discussion about like, oh, did you guys really explore? Did you just find the first site? And
all I said is that it was for a military exercise.
We're going to get a civilian delegation. It's going to be led by Achilles here, and poor Jason, voiced by Dark Cloud. He really is the councilman's errand boy.
Jason, well done.
Yeah, he does like to sort of use that a little to his advantage, though, I think.
Oh yes, he's very good at manipulating and appeasing the egos, particularly of Heracles, but also Achilles as well, and the long-winded Odysseus, which we'll see even more in future episodes.
The thing is, just a few minutes ago, the whispering, that I had a really hard time with, thinking like, how exactly was I going to whisper that quietly enough? Because of course the whispering into a microphone is very hard.
Right. Oh yes, and still be able to be heard.
Right.
Yeah.
We're needed here. Our leaving would
So I sort of had to treat it like I was talking into my breath instead of whispering.
Marsh is right.
So this, I mean, really, I think the plot moves along a lot faster in this one, in the pilot. I'll admit, in the pilot, I was getting my feet wet with the script writing. And oh, look at that! One of our citizens is just lounging around there. I never noticed that. before. I'm talking and she's sitting lying down like I'm not important. I'm gonna get rid of her. She's gone. She's not appearing again. You're cut. You're gone. Never do
I
that.
like the guy's working on the ducks on the other side of the northwest side of the screen there.
doesn't deserve
It was a ducks or chickens or whatever those are.
annihilated all
Yeah.
the big game around here. He hasn't been out hunting.
And
Well within.
yeah, so we're trying to set up what's going on in future episodes here, because the plot, really is going, and we've got an idea. I've got an idea. Dark Cloud and Gordon and I have an idea of where we want to see the series go. And we talked about like how long these episodes should be. This is almost 13 minutes long. The pilot was 8 or 9. We're shooting for 15 to 20 minutes. Otherwise, we'll be releasing a lot of really short episodes, and with some of these, we just don't want the momentum to go away. And I know some people might be lamenting the lack of action. There is action coming, but to give the action some meaning, we're trying to give you a sense of these characters and what they're thinking, and developing relationships.
This plan is still ludicrous.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually am looking more forward to the political action, I think, personally, than the military action, just between Odysseus and
Of course I heard.
whatnot, and Virtue and Marshmallow. I think that between them, this is really, especially the opening conversation and the last conversation, I think both are really interesting. That's really what's interesting to me, is sort of, even though I'm not actually really particularly involved in this except to get insulted once or twice. But this is always an interesting part to me to watch afterwards, after the episode's actually completed, is to hear them how it goes back and forth between the councilmen and between the generals, and then between the council and the generals. 3 different levels of infighting there.
And we even got the comment about Odysseus about, Heracles saying the way things are going to be, and Odysseus comments, well, since all things do come to an end, that arrangement seems fair enough. That's some pretty powerful stuff to be saying, but Odysseus is kind of hurt, but I don't know if his words are really sinking in. We'll have to see.
Citizen?
Yeah, he definitely seems to speak his mind.
And Heracles likes to take on Marshmallow, saying like, our word is law.
When do we leave?
And
Soon as you can be packed.
that's the end of episode 102.
Thank you all for watching. I hope everybody got as much out of this as we did.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to seeing what happens in terms of this exploration. And again, thanks everybody listening in. And don't worry, we'll be focusing on more than just the Greeks. But that's all I'm going to say. As Gordon says, no peeking at future storylines. Thanks again, folks.
Thanks again.